Just over 12 months ago, we moved into this 3-acre smallholding in Sussex. So what have we learnt in that first year? Hi folks, welcome to This Future-Proof Life. Just a year ago, I created a video basically saying, we've just bought a brand new smallholding, what should we do first? And at that time, when you first move in, you're so excited and you want to get stuck into all these wonderful projects that you've been dreaming about for all that time. That's probably one of the largest learnings we've had over this year, is to not rush in. You want to get stuck in, you've got all these different ideas that you have before you move in, but the reality is that you need to get to know your property over the course of 4 seasons. Over the whole year, so many things change. Whether that's extreme weather events creating flooding, or prevailing winds meaning that certain areas are just too windy to grow in. We've certainly found that existing veg beds that previous owners had built just didn't get enough sunshine to be able to grow the produce that we'd wanted to be able to grow. And it was only by going through the growing season that we really got to test it out and see if that works. The reality is that there are going to be lots and lots of jobs and projects that you don't even realize at the beginning when you first move in. And if you get too committed to too large a project early on, then sometimes you can get a bit tripped up. So what we've certainly found is, before you commit to big projects, before you decide where you're going to put your infrastructure, you need to get to know your land. And even if that's just your garden, and we moved here from a garden that was 1/4 of an acre, but even in that situation, you get to learn where frost pockets are. You get to learn where sunshine gets to raised beds enough that you can get some really good produce. Where should your polytunnel or your greenhouse go? All these things that you only really learn from time and from spending time on your own land. So that's definitely a hard lesson for me, because I am impatient, but take your time, get to know your land and plan things really well. So as time goes on, you begin to realize all the different jobs it takes to look after your land. And those are the projects that you like doing, the growing projects and the management projects, but then there are also the chores like hedge trimming and grass cutting or whatever else it is that you have to do. So you do begin to realize that there's a lot involved, and particularly if you're doing things part-time like I am, you've got to be organized about it. So I began to realize that there were certain projects that I had to do as an ongoing process, and then there were other projects which were sort of optional projects that I wanted to improve our infrastructure with and to progress our smallholding. You have to separate those out, and then you have to be organized about where you allocate your time. So one technique that I use is a mind map. It's not as clever as it sounds. Basically, it's just sketching it on a piece of paper so that I can get it out of my head, and it's about putting down all the different steps involved in a project. So it allows you to plan ahead a little bit, but it also enables you to tick off what you're doing so that you get an idea of how much you've achieved, which is often quite nice. It allows you to prioritize different projects, and I think that's a key. When your time is limited, you can't do everything, particularly in the first year. And I'm the worst one at that. I want to get everything done and all my plans to come to fruition, but you can't. There's only so much you can do, particularly if you're just on your own with a little bit of help. So therefore, you can't achieve everything. So one thing it's really important to be able to do is to ask for help. You can't do everything yourself, and even if you are doing a lot of it on your own, certain projects can go so much faster when there's 2 or 3 of you working on it. What I've found is that people actually love to offer a few hours of help, particularly if you do it in exchange for a bit of produce. People like to be involved in your passion and supporting you, and this is a great way for them to be able to do that. So don't be afraid to ask people for a favour and to get them over for a day. Then you can really start to make big progress in some of your projects and move the whole thing forward. So it can be really exciting, and it's just a lot of fun sharing the process and the journey that you're on with the people you care about. So one lesson that I've definitely learned this year is investing in good tools. Buying cheap tools is a totally false economy, and when you're working really hard on your land or in your garden, you're putting a lot of hours and effort into what you're doing, and you'll wear out rubbish tools really quickly. So find a brand of tools, try to go for bigger brands, and also look online on YouTube and things like that for reviews about tools, and pick quality tools, because if you do that, you're investing for years. You're going to be using that tool for a long time, so it's worth maybe spending a little bit more and making sure that you get something that works really well. One particular tool that we've had this year, which is simple but we love it, is called the Root Slayer. And this is basically for getting rid of brambles and other nasty weeds like that. So it's got a sharp edge that means that you can cut out the roots of brambles, and along here you can also tear into thick roots too. Amazing for cutting out and permanently getting rid of nettles, brambles and anything like that. Awesome. So last but no means least, it's so important to keep enjoying the process. Learning to be more self-sufficient is difficult, it does take time, it involves a lot of effort, but it's incredibly rewarding when you get it right. We've had failures, we've had successes, but through all of it we've been learning, and the key is to enjoy the process of learning. You've got to think in years, not months, and embrace this new lifestyle that you're trying to build for yourself.